My next guest, part of a group that was invited to that meeting but said no. The executive director of the American Conservative Union, Dan Schneider, is with me now. Dan, glad you're here. Why did your group say no to the Facebook invitation?
Well, Deirdre, thank you for having me. Look, the problems with Facebook run deep and long, and a simple meeting, a one 90-minute meeting with 10 other people in a room, that's not the way to address a problem. We are happy to sit down with Facebook. We've tried to sit down with Facebook in the past to address some of these problems. They've not been interested in talking to us in any meaningful way. We hope that this will begin a dialogue where we can spend real time discussing real issues in a substantive way.
Okay, so Dan, your group organizes a well-known annual conference. We cover it here. It is known as CPAC. And you say that Facebook has admitted to suppressing content about the event. So first of all, how did you figure that out? When did it happen?
Well, of course, the Gizmodo article quoted Facebook staff who said that they were specifically instructed to suppress CPAC coverage. When we met with Facebook people before CPAC, we clearly got the signal that they didn't appreciate us very much, and even used some language that characterized us in very unflattering ways. So none of this is a real surprise to us, and we also see the kind of policies they advocate for in Washington, D.C. Those are also left-wing policies. So from top to bottom, we understand that Facebook is a liberal organization run by liberals, and that's fine. They can run their company the way they see fit, but we want to make sure that there's transparency in the American public.
When you talk about transparency, that brings up a great point, because I think at this point, at least for the news feed division, it's essentially acting like a publisher, right? And even the New York Times, whatever you think of that magazine, does not encourage bias in its journalists' work. In fact, journalists are not allowed, as I understand it, to even make donations. That's not the case at Facebook. So do you think part of the conversation today should be to this news feed, listen, you're now a publisher, at least this branch, more a publisher than a tech company?
Now, you know what? I'm not interested in having people tell Facebook how to do its business. But we do want transparency and honesty. We've heard about this algorithm, and it's basically a mathematical formula, but it's not a sterile set of numbers. It's directing people to look for trends, and they are specifically directed to look at liberal websites and liberal media outlets like the Washington Post, the New York Times, MSNBC. And if stories aren't running on those sites or in those media platforms, they're not going to track Facebook. So this mathematical formula is specifically designed, I don't know if it's intentionally designed this way, but it's specifically designed to exclude liberal or exclude conservative coverage.
And I know Facebook's line, just bringing you, I know you know both sides, but maybe our viewers don't, is that people self-select their own filter. But we're going to continue on the conversation. In the meantime, Dan, I'm so glad you joined us. Thank you for bringing us your point of view. It is important to us. Dan Schneider with me there. I want to actually ask you one more thing, too good to let you go. White House logs showing Google's unrivaled access to the Obama administration. So Google's director of public policy, essentially the company's top lobbyist, visiting the White House 128 times since President Obama took office. Now, senior lobbyists for other tech and telecom companies combined visited the White House 124 times. So I'm talking about Comcast, Facebook, Amazon, Oracle, Verizon, all added together, still do not match up to the access that Google had. So how do you see Google versus Facebook or any of the other companies I mentioned?
Well, the story is even deeper than that. Former Google employees now run the Patent and Trademark Office. They used to run the Science and Technology Policy Office at the White House. Google employees are throughout the administration. And the policies that the Google Corporation supports are, again, policies of the left. Google wants to diminish the value of intellectual property so that it's cheaper to acquire other people's patents. And as an organization that supports the concept of life, liberty, and property of all kinds, we believe in a strong patent system so that people's ideas and inventions are protected. Google has a different business model. They've tried to use this administration to effectuate that plan. The president does not like property very much either. So we need the restoration of intellectual property rights and the strong property system.
So, Dan, let me ask you just to compare so that we're not just focused on tech and telecom. Oil companies, we have some stats to show our viewers, as well as defense companies, and people can read for themselves. Essentially, tech and telecom is outweighing all these other industries combined. Is that a problem?
Well, what's a problem is the left-wing bias of the representation coming into the White House. We need to have clear lines of communication from all perspectives, especially the traditional perspectives that relate to property rights. Without property rights and the rule of law, our entire society will flounder.
Dan, thank you very much. Dan Schneider with me there, American Conservative Union Executive Director, a group that declined Facebook.